The American administration a few days ago launched their National Security Review, and what it has to say about Europe is absolutely fascinating. Listen to this clip from Donald Trump being interviewed in the last 24 hours by Politico.
Most European nations, they're decaying. They're decaying. I think they're weak, but I also think that they want to be so politically correct. I think they don't know what to do. Europe doesn't know what to do. Their immigration policy is a disaster. What they're doing with immigration is a disaster.
Now, there was huge criticism today in the House of Commons of that interview, of that review. It seemed that what Ed Davey, the leader of the Lib Dems, was saying was, we want America to be here to defend us, but how dare they make any comment on how we operate our business, which I found slightly odd. But back to the main theme. What Trump is saying, what the American administration is saying, is that mass migration is leading to the potential of civilisational erasure. Now, these are very, very strong words. But on the broader theme of is Europe decaying, I want to get your thoughts on it. Tweet hashtag Farage on GB News or email farage@gbnews.com, because I think he does have a point. Now, I'm very pleased, honoured to be joined down the line by Sebastian Gorka, Deputy Assistant to President Trump and Director for Counterterrorism, and an old, well, not that old, but a friend of mine for many, many years. Seb, welcome to the programme. Start with this. Why is Donald Trump, why are America so concerned about what's happening in Europe, although he did single out Poland and Hungary, of course, from which your family come from, as doing a good job? Why does America care about what's happening in society across Britain and Europe?
Because everyone should. I feel rather strange. It's to be interviewed by the man who has fought so valiantly for the rebirth of Europe in terms of nation states and sovereignty. Without you, Nigel, there is no Brexit. Without you, Nigel, this whole rebirth of national sovereignty on the continent wouldn't really have happened. So God bless you, Nigel. You know exactly why. The president, even this document that we just released on Friday that sets the scene for America for the next 3 or more years is very clear. We have a connection to the continent. The president has familial roots to the UK and to the continent, and we are concerned for civilisational reasons. Western civilization is the greatest civilization the world has ever seen, and it is experiencing a rebirth in America under MAGA, under Make America First Again. But what's happening in Europe, with your exception, as you mentioned, what the president listed in certain countries who get it, like Poland or Hungary, but elsewhere, whether it's illegal migration not taken seriously, whether it's the population decline and the lack of a capacity to meet 2.1 birth replacement rates, or whether it's the insane political correctness that puts people in prison for tweets and Facebook posts. Nigel, you know better than anyone why we here in America are concerned for our shared civilization.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Seb, I know it all too well, but I wanted to hear it from you. Now, the one other part of this that is leading to big debate, and this has been going on ever since 2016, November 16, since Trump first got elected, is the narrative here has been Trump wants to walk away from NATO and say, the hell with what's going on in Europe. And people look at this document and say, well, you know, it's perhaps a bit kinder to Russia than it ought to be. I've always taken the view that actually of many of the senior Republicans, Trump was the one that cared most about American leadership at NATO. But I mean, is America, well, firstly, about to walk away from NATO? And secondly, is an American negotiated peace in Ukraine now for the birds?
So, look, let's be very clear here. I cut my teeth on NATO issues back in the early 1990s. Back then, we suffered as an alliance from the free rider complex. America paid the bills for practically everyone. We dreamt of nations meeting 2% of GDP committed to their defense. So we could actually have an Article 5 that meant something, where there would be expeditionary forces, capable forces amongst all the NATO nations, not just those with a storied history of great military successes like the UK, France, or others. But what happened? Disaster. The people thinking that they can choose the welfare state and buy butter, whilst the US would buy the guns and protect you all. So no, what the president achieved just this year, that we see 5% dedication of GDP to defense inside NATO nations, is because he cares, is because he wants Europe to be as strong as we are, or get close to the same category. And when it comes to the future of Europe, who was it who in the UN 6 years ago, when he gave a speech, told the Europeans, stop buying Russian petrol and gas? Do you remember that moment, Nigel, when the president warned Europe? The camera panned to the German delegation, who were tittering, who were laughing. The American president says we rely too much on Russian gas. Well, they're not tittering anymore, are they, Nigel?
They're not tittering anymore. Final quick thought. Is any sensible, sane, negotiated peace with President Putin now even possible?
Oh, absolutely. There's only, let's do the math, do the mathematics of it all. We've been in office since January 20th. The president, not us, the president, with his incredible team, with Steve Witkoff, with Jared Kushner, with Marco Rubio, my immediate boss, have delivered 8 peace treaties for intractable things like Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. There is only one person who will deliver peace in Europe and a negotiated settlement to the meat grinder that is the war in Ukraine, and it is the man in the Oval Office just behind me. Anyone who lives in the real world knows that, and we are closer than we have ever been. So pray for the president and for his team, because we have a shot to bring peace to the continent.
I will. Seb, thank you so much for sparing some time to come and talk to us here on GB News. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you. Well, I'm joined in the studio by Kwasi Kwarteng and John McTernan, regulars on this show. Well, one thing for certain is that Trump has a very loyal team around him.
He's got a very loyal team.
There's a lot to unpack here, John, a lot to unpack. These words are incredibly strong. To say that Europe is at risk of civilisational erasure, remarkably strong words, but he does have a point.
Well, it's utterly wrong to say that, and he's talking about. He picks out countries in Europe which have a lower level of migration than the United States. Is the United States facing civilisational erasure?
No, because people go to America, become American, fly the flag, are proud to stand, put their hands on their hearts and do the oath. And the point he's making is that we've let people in vast numbers who don't integrate.
We're sitting on a panel with a very senior politician.
Yeah, look,
with a heritage from outside.
That's true.
No, that's true.
And
that
the
is
leader
true.
of the opposition.
That's all very true.
But
what we're not focusing on migration that happened in the 60s and 70s and even the 80s.
Net 30,000 a year.
Yeah, in 1987, the net was 8,000. For a long period in the 80s. So we're looking at a period over the last 10, 15 years where there's been huge numbers of immigration. You've also got something that we didn't have in the 20th century, which is, after 9/11, militant Islamic jihadism and political Islam, if I can call it that. And these currents, if you like, I don't think they pose a civilizational threat. I don't think that in the next week we're going to suddenly see the jihadist flag.
No one's suggesting in the next week. What Trump said was in the decades to come.
So I think we have to tighten the policy. I think we have to tighten migration. We've got to try and do more to integrate. Because the whole point about Britain was that you could come here and essentially just live your own life.
Yeah, Kwasi's come back at what you said quite effectively, because the numbers have been just beyond belief.
The issue, there's the hierarchy of issues, aren't there?
Yeah.
One is there burden sharing? We share the development of the deterrent with the United States of America. Massive burden sharing there. Is there burden sharing? Every European country that has large US bases on it is offering a prize to the United States of America to allow it to project its force forward in a way that if there was not NATO, if there were not the cooperation...
You're moving on to the second point, and fair enough.
But I'll go back to, at the core of it, there's a longer document we know now, that's an internal document, and it proposes the creation of a thing called the C5. The US, China, India, Russia back. No European nation there, no European Union representation. There's a at the core of the American proposition is a mercantilist one. It is the European Union is large enough as an economic state to stand up to America and say, some things we regulate on like GDPR, some things we regulate on in other areas on social media. You have to obey our laws. We're big enough market. And this splintering of the European Union is desire to splinter a market as well.
But John,
and the US and Russia, the idea there's a forum for the US and Russia together, while the Russia is invading Ukraine, invading a European sovereign country.
And Donald Trump wants this, and Donald Trump's trying to broker a peace deal.
He's got two problems with it, hasn't he? The major one being
Putin.
Putin's not interested in it.
I know, I agree with you.
You can't do it. You can't have a
and I asked Seb Gorka that, and I agree with you.
No, and I think Seb elegantly avoided answering your question, which was a good question.
And on the economics, I mean, America's relative to the Eurozone doubled in the last 16 years. But I tell you what, this is a massive debate and it'll go on forever. But I want to do something a little bit lighter. Okay. This is what Donald Trump had to say about the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. We've got to show this. Come on.
So if you take a look at London, you have a mayor named Khan. He's a horrible mayor. He's an incompetent mayor, but he's a horrible, vicious, disgusting mayor. I think he's done a terrible job. London's a different place.
It sounds like a it's play school.
Well, there's that expression, isn't there, that people say, I think Sadiq is living rent-free in Donald Trump's head.
Yeah, that's true.
He's obsessed with Sadiq.
Sadiq will be going, that clip is my re-election campaign.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, the guy is the mayor of London, and you've got the President of the United States. I mean, can you imagine George Bush going on after Ken Livingstone?
The most interesting mayoral thing, in fact, yesterday was that Miami has got its first Democrat mayor for 30 years. It was elected, and a non-Cuban American.
Sure.
Well,
that's not a huge surprise. But let me put a point. Let me put a point to both of you for a quick response. Okay, he loathes Khan.
Yes.
Yeah. He makes it clear. It's actually quite entertaining to watch it in some ways. And Khan always returns the compliment. So it works both ways. But a serious point. Trump says London is not what it used to be. And I'm going to put it to you, John, and to you, Kwasi, for a quick response. We're now living in a London where men can't wear watches, where women don't walk down the King's Road wearing jewellery, where mobile phone theft is 1 every 6 minutes stolen in London, where law and order is out of control, and there are many people who say London is not recognisable from just 10 years ago.
We live in London, which has got the Elizabeth line, which has got the busiest stations in the country.
But you can't wear a watch.
It's a London that's modernised. It's a London that is thriving.
A London where you can shoplift.
Thriving. A thriving London.
John, you've got your head in the sand here, mate.
I think so.
There's an issue with the policing of shoplifting and the response and the use. We need far greater use. Visual recognition, cameras.
Big Brother will solve it all.
I do think that
Big Brother will solve it
It's
all.
very interesting listening to John, because
Quick thought,
if you listen to him, you would think nothing was wrong. Nothing. You don't accept that anything has gone wrong in the last 20 years. I was in the government for a lot of that time, and I'm putting my hand up and saying some things have got out of control, and we've got to try and reassert control.
Well, chaps, I tell you what, I am absolutely certain that London is not what it used to be. And I met a chap the other week who I know well, Italian, great guy, been living in London for a long time. He said, my wife's gone back to Italy. I said, I'm so sorry, imagining there was a separation and divorce. Yeah. He said, no, she's been mugged twice out pushing the pram. She says she can't live in London anymore, and there's too much of that going on.